Good evening. Welcome to WSBI, your resource for success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring women-owned businesses from across the country. And now, for your host, Kimberly McElmore.
All right. Hello, and welcome to another night of sharing. With us, we have Candace White, CEO and founder of Black Girls Lift. Welcome, Candace.
Hi. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me today.
Oh, it is my pleasure, and I am truly excited about this opportunity because I met you several months ago at one of your major events, so I can't wait for everybody to hear your story and understand why you decided to get into this business and all the other great stuff that comes with it. So could you just give the listeners a little bit of information about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Candace White, as you said, the CEO and founder of Black Girls Lift. And before we begin, let me just thank you for featuring me on this podcast and allowing me to share my story and talk about Black Girls Lift. So I feel that it is my mission to encourage and motivate and teach women to lift weights. And I give them the tools to be able to do this successfully through Black Girls Lift. And I've been very busy organizing fitness events, building partnerships with other organizations that have a mission in health and fitness. And also I spend a lot of my time in the gym lifting weights with women.
Yeah, that part is awesome. But before we dive really into your mission and then your program, tell me a little bit more about where you came from and, what really inspired you to do what you're doing.
So interestingly enough, my sister is my inspiration. Her name is Adrienne White, and she lives in Atlanta. And she was actually the ambassador of Black Girls Run in Atlanta for about 5 years.
Okay.
She attended and led weekly runs throughout the city. And as her time as an ambassador, thousands of women joined the organization, and that includes myself. And I got more into running at that time, but, unfortunately I ended up with a hip injury that required surgery. And so the doctor told me I couldn't run for 6+ months, and my personal trainer at that time had told me to start focusing on weightlifting exercises, especially exercises that would rebuild the muscles around my hip. So that's really how I got into weightlifting, but it really started with my sister's dedication to fitness and running.
Wow. And it's amazing how we find ourselves caught up in a certain circumstance that you have to rearrange and change your life. So something that you love doing, you could no longer do. And I think a lot of women who are really into working out and love running and so forth have had to take some of that same measurement and moving themselves away from that, because running is really actually very hard on the body.
Right. Especially on the joints.
Exactly. Because it's funny how I'm listening to your story, because I'm a licensed Zumba instructor, and I had had a previous injury many, many years ago from being hit by an actual car. And so my left knee had been in such bad movements throughout the years, because, you have one doctor telling you, oh, you can do this, you can do that. Cause I would run every day. And then was doing 4 and 5, Zumba classes a week, and actually it made my knee worse. And so I literally had to go through that same transition of, oh my gosh, I can't run anymore. I can't do 4 or 5 different classes anymore. So what do I have to do? And the first thing they recommended was, well, you need to start lifting. And it really has changed the dynamic of my leg, even though I still don't have any cartilage in that knee. I just think it was amazing how just building muscle around the knee itself is taking off so much pressure from, having to feel weak and having to wear braces and so forth. But I think the other thing that I found that lifting weights is that the part that I'm still trying to understand and learn, which I think that you could probably help me out with, and probably even the listeners, is that when women build and they're lifting, we have a lot of muscle mass. And of course, our bodies are very different. So I think that kind of deteriorates me sometimes from wanting to continue, even though I still lift, but I feel like I'm just much heavier than what I really want to be. So how do you encourage women beyond, once they have decided, hey, I want to jump into doing the lifting weights, the weightlifting, and then so forth, but not understanding how your body does truly change in a dynamic way?
So that's an interesting point that you make, because a lot of women feel discouraged to begin lifting weights in the first place because of the myth that they'll bulk up and they'll put on all this extra muscle mass that looks masculine. But in fact, lifting weights does the opposite. It actually helps burn fat and lean out the body. I mean, the stories you hear about women who bulk up, they're probably taking some form of steroids, and they're eating 3,000 plus calories a day. I mean, it takes a lot to actually bulk up, and for your average woman, though, that just doesn't happen.
Okay. And I understand that now. Of course, I've been doing it for several years, but I think it's always important for people to hear that and reiterate that story, because I'm sure in your journey of going through this process of doing this business that you hear those excuses over and over and over again. And I love the fact that you're diving into, dealing with women of color and making us understand the importance of it. But tell me more about the business side. In when you decided that, okay, I have to do this now, what were some of the challenges and the things that you've gone through building this business, and how have you gotten the women to be a part of your team to help you lead this business?
Right. So I can plan events. I can provide trainers at discounted rates. I can offer customized meal plans. But getting women to commit to these things and stay consistent and really make it a lifestyle change is the real challenge. So through some of the Black Girls Lift events that we have in our workshops, we help dispel some of the myths and the challenges that women face in trying to be consistent with their exercise program. So really just getting women to keep up with it and not get discouraged. That's been a real challenge.
Right. And like you said, the thing I want to point out that you mentioned is the fact that it's a permanent lifestyle change. It's not something, well, I lost the weight today and then guess what? I'm going to go back to doing what I used to do, and not understanding they're actually making things worse for themselves, because that weight will actually come back much quicker, because they've quit doing what their bodies have gotten used to them, putting into place for them now. So I like that you're trying to make women understand that it's very important to maintain it's not a one-time thing.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, I guess the other thing I want to talk a little bit about with this challenge, or with the pieces of working with women themselves, is that just trying to understand that it's also the thing I hear a lot about is the age bracket. Oh, I'm too old to be lifting weights. Oh, this isn't going to do me any good right now. What do you do? How do you make that work? What is it that you tell women who are at a certain age bracket, as I consider us grown women per se, we're in our 50s and above. How does that work with you? How do you talk to them about that?
Well, so Ernestine Shepherd, she has, as you know, she attended our event in January, and that was such a success that we're trying to bring her out to more events and replicate that events, in different locations throughout the country. And I think, she's a great inspiration to women, and women realize, you don't have to be young to begin working out or lifting weights. You can start really at any age, and women are absolutely encouraged to, work out throughout their life, as early as, high school, when you're taking PE classes, all the way through, your 70s and 80s and 90s, and really as long as you live.
Right. And that's the key, is that it doesn't really matter when you start. And I think that's still something that, some women just can't get out of their head is, I'm 60 or 70 or 80. I just don't want to do this anymore. Not realizing, I think, that the benefits it actually brings to your body when you lift weights. So could you talk a little bit about some of those benefits?
Yeah, so I mean the benefits are wide ranging. I mean lifting can help with just simple movements, like daily movements, from walking up the stairs to, moving furniture, or just like picking up your child or your grandchild.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's just like other basic health benefits. It helps with blood circulation, it reduces stress, and things like that. So the benefits are really wide ranging and endless.
Mm-hmm. And I think the thing that I always focus on is the fact that as we do get older, we start to shrink. And of course, when women start to lose their bone density a little faster than men. So, my big focus is always, I'm going to maintain lifting the weights because I have found that it has made a difference in my body. And I think the bigger challenge for me, and there might be for other women, as we talked about this, I think a little bit earlier with some of the questions, is that I think the eating phase is always a challenge because
Absolutely.
right. So, as we get older, things change. So I think that is the part that, I'm still trying to figure out. I was like, okay, how do I balance this out? Because, I'm in my 50s now, and I've noticed that it's really much harder to keep the weight off versus what it was when I was in my 40s and 30s. And even though I'm doing a better regiment of workouts. So what would you recommend, even though you haven't really seen me or actually sat down and did a physical, but if you had some high elevated recommendations of that, what would you say to me?
Yep. So I absolutely encourage women or you to continue to enjoy the foods that you love eating, but maybe cut your portion in half, or just be mindful of how much you are consuming, and eat less of it. You know what I mean? If you don't, want to eat a salad at every meal, that's okay. You can continue to enjoy, the foods that you like, but just be mindful of how much you're putting into your body.
Right. Exactly. So you have been in business since about 2015, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So now you're talking about your events. Now, when are you going to be having more events? And I know Ernestine Shepherd is really a huge, big part of what you do, but do you have any other local individuals who are kind of at that level and that you are able to put events together with to help women maintain that consistency that you're looking for?
Well, I can tell you Ernestine Shepherd has definitely been our biggest hit, but we're always open to other, fitness celebrities, or anyone who, has a positive influence on the community. We're open to bringing new people to our events. We're also looking at bringing Lita Lewis to an upcoming event. I'm not sure if you know about her, but she's a huge IG, a fitness person, and she has lots of followers, and so we're hoping to bring her out to an event in DC fairly soon. But generally speaking, we aim to do at least one event per month. We are looking to expand beyond DC and to do more events. Actually, we are planning to bring Ernestine Shepherd to Atlanta, and we're hoping to do that in January 2019. So that's what we're working on for now.
Oh, that's great. That's great because she is a phenomenal individual. I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah. If you can't get inspired by her, I don't know what else to tell you.
Yep, I know. I think she's about 83 years old, and she was out there working out with us with heels on. So
exactly. Yeah, she wore
can
me
do
out.
that. We can do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Without the heels, maybe.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think I can handle the heels right now. So I could barely get through that workout. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm missing some things in my workout. But yeah, she was phenomenal, and that's the thing I love about it, because each time you bring her every year, she's here she's had another birthday, so definitely no excuses for that when it comes to age. So kind of walk me through the process of your intake when you're actually working with a new client. If somebody comes in, they have an interest. And I know it's the other thing too, I wanted to ask quickly, that as you had the events, you actually collaborate with other vendors and so forth that help with the food and so forth. Are you still doing that like on a regular basis, or is that only when you have your actual vending events?
Yes, so we actually have a partnership with Finishing Culinary Touches, and anyone who's looking, to get meals, either meal plans or prepared meals delivered to their home, then I can put them in touch with Finishing Touches Culinary and get them going with the eating. Get them on the right track rather with their eating. So yeah, that's an ongoing partnership, and that's worked out really well.
Yeah, and their food is very, very good. I was really enjoyed. I actually got picked up quite a few meals that day from, because, it's really great to have that option. So, if you don't have time to cook all the time, or if you need something light, but, that tastes good, for lunch and so forth, you're eating the right portions. And I think that was a really good concept to have that right there in front of all of us, because I'm thinking, man, just got done doing this great workout, having a good meal that's healthy. That was a nice, to have that option there. Availability. So, also, I guess, like I said, talk to me a little bit more about the process, your intake process when you have new clients come through.
Yeah, so when a new client reaches out, my first recommendation is to have them attend an event, and meet some of our trainers and meet some of the other women that are involved. And each of our events consists of a 1-hour workshop and a 1-hour workout. So during the workshop, we choose some fitness related topic to just dive into and teach our women about. So for example, we may teach women about macros and how to calculate the appropriate macros that particular woman should be intaking, to achieve, optimal results. So anyway, we, after we send them to an event, we then will meet with them individually and, see if we can customize a program for them and see, kind of find out what their goals are and where they want to go from here, because everyone has different goals and different schedules and different availability. So depending on all of that, we kind of create a plan for them so that they can be successful.
All right. That sounds really good. So if you had, I'm going to ask you a question because this is business related, but I want to know that if you had another woman come up to you today and said, hey, I want to learn, how can I open my own business? What type of information would you give them? What advice would you give them?
My advice would be simply to take action. I know a lot of times we, think about, these things that we want to do, these businesses that we want to open. But, I think the most daunting thing is to actually start doing something. But, it's like once you overcome that step, then you realize it's like, oh, wow, like I accomplished this much so far, and I just encourage them to just keep going and don't get discouraged. And if necessary, they can go find a mentor or someone who has already started a business just to get some advice.
Exactly. Yeah. Mentorship is very, very important. And it doesn't necessarily always have to be the same business. I think a lot of people just need to understand what it really truly means to be in business. It's one thing to have the expertise in the field, but most people don't know what to do once they get past that expertise side. So absolutely recommend the mentoringship is very important. So, we're getting close to the end of the interview, but can you tell the listeners how they can get a hold of you?
Absolutely. So listeners can find my information on the Black Girls Lift website. That's at www.blackgirlslift.com. They are also encouraged to visit the Black Girls Lift Facebook and Instagram pages, and they can find me there as well.
All right. Well, again, it has been such a pleasure, and I have really enjoyed doing this interview, and it's been I've really had a great time coming to your event, meeting Ernestine Shepherd and meeting you. And so I do thank you again for allowing me to have this opportunity with you. And I know you're busy, and so it's, we've been planning this for a while now. So
yeah. Well, absolutely. Thanks for checking us out at an event, and we hope to see you again at another event. And I hope during this call we were able to inspire some people.
That's right. Because, the listeners, you guys, take it, like you said, just jump out there, take a chance, and, not so much just with the business, but just taking care of yourself. You have to put yourself first in order to be able to do anything for anybody else, and you got to be happy, and that's the key. So, and exercise, I think exercise is a very important part of your happiness. So. And
pick up a pair of weights, during
Thank
that
you.
exercise.
At any age.
Yep, exactly.
All righty then. Again, like I said, thank you for coming on my show this evening with me. And for everyone else, remember we are now on iHeartRadio every Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Until next time, you have a good evening.
Good night, everyone. We will be back next Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Follow us on Spreaker, www.spreaker.com/user/WSBI. View our new WSBI website anytime at www.wsbillc.com and on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram.